Everyone, and welcome to the Creative Natter. Now, this week, I thought I'd talk about something that sits right at the heart of why many of us draw, and that is why being creative can support our emotional well being. Now, it's something that's helped me through some busy weeks and stressful moments, and just those general ups and downs of life. And I wanted to talk about why creativity feels so good for your mind and why picking up a pencil can make such a difference to your day. Now, this past couple of weeks, I've just felt that life was just sort of pulling me in all different directions. My eldest had just moved out, and I just felt that quiet shift that you feel when your home life changes. I also had a few health issues flare up, which slowed me down. And those moments just left me feeling unsettled and tired. Now, I knew I needed something steady just to bring myself back into balance. So I just sat down to draw, and it never fails me. After 10 minutes in, I could feel my shoulders drop, my mind slowed down. I felt like I could breathe again. And that was the moment that I decided that this would be a really good topic to start off this vlog series. Now, you've probably heard people say that art is relaxing, but I think it goes further than that. Creativity gives you a pause, a small, clear moment in the middle of everything else when you just pick up a pencil or reach for your pastels and you tell your mind to focus on one thing. And that alone creates a sense of calm. You give yourself permission to step away from that constant rush of daily life. And most of us do not get that feeling from many places. Now, one of the biggest benefits is the way that creativity just helps you switch off. We move through our days with noise everywhere. Our phones are ringing, our emails are waiting for us, our chores are piling up, and people are needing things from us constantly. But when you sit down to create, even if it's just for a few minutes, that noise fades. Your mind settles into a slower rhythm and you stop reacting to everything else around you. You stay within the moment, and that alone can feel like a huge relief. Now, I noticed this when I first started drawing, and I still feel it today. And there's just some days when you just feel overwhelmed or just a bit low, and you just find it hard to just get motivated and moving. And when I feel like that, I just sit down to draw. And like I said, within a short time, I just feel much more grounded. I find that my breathing changes, my thoughts stop racing, my mood lifts. And it's not magic. It is simply the way our minds respond when we focus on something gentle and meaningful. Creativity sort of acts like a reset, and you just come back to yourself. Another benefit is the way that art helps you process your feelings. You don't need to create a masterpiece to feel this. You only need to sit down with a piece of paper and just let your hands move. Some days you'll create something detailed, some days you won't, but both of them can help. And the simple act of creating gives your thoughts somewhere to go. It gives your emotions a safe place. You don't need to have the right words. You just need to show up. Another thing I love about drawing is how it encourages presence. It's hard to think about five different things when you are creating. Your mind sort of comes back to the moment and you look at the lines you're creating, the values, the shapes, or the colors that you're using. You focus on one small area at a time, and that kind of focus is rare in everyday life. When you give yourself that moment, you give your mind a rest. It feels peaceful, it feels steady, it feels like time's just slowing down a little bit, and you can finally catch up with yourself. There's also a confidence that grows from regular creativity. You start with simple pieces, you try something new, you improve, you surprise yourself. And that's something many adults do not experience often. Learning new skills can feel intimidating, especially if you've spent years believing that you are not artistic or creative. And when you begin to prove that belief wrong, you feel a shift inside. You realize that you are capable of learning at any age. and you realize that you can create something beautiful even if you have never drawn before. That confidence spreads into other parts of your life too. Creativity also gives you something positive to look forward to. So many of us spend our days meeting everyone else's needs, work, family responsibilities, and just general routines. They tend to come first. But when you set aside time to draw, you create something that is just yours. It becomes a comforting little ritual. You make your cup of tea, you sit down at your table, you pick up your pencils and slip into your own quiet world for a little while. And that simple routine can turn into one of the brightest parts of your week. The benefits to mental well-being are real, and studies have shown that creative activities help lower your stress, improve your mood, and increase feelings of calm. You do not need research to know that. You feel it in the moment you start. Your mind softens, your jaw unclenches, your shoulders will drop, and you'll feel like you have space around your thoughts again. And that can help you move through the rest of your day with a lot more ease. I've also learned how important community is. Drawing can be quiet and personal, but sharing that journey with others adds something special. It's great to cheer each other on and celebrate our wins and support each other. And that sense of connection is powerful. Creativity becomes more enjoyable when you know others understand what you're learning and how it feels. You feel encouraged to keep going, you feel less alone, and you feel inspired by the progress that you see around about you. Creativity also teaches us patience, and most things in life demand speed. Drawing invites the complete opposite. You move at your own pace. You take your time, you enjoy the steady rhythm of making marks or building up your values. And that practice helps you become more patient with yourself in other areas too. You learn that growth happens slowly, and that slow progress is still progress. When you approach your daily life with that same mindset, everything feels a little bit lighter. One thing I often remind people is that you do not need hours every day to feel the benefits of creativity. Even 10 minutes can help. A short session before bedtime, a little sketch in your lunch break, or even just, a little drawing before or after dinner. These small moments just add up and can change how you feel throughout the rest of the day. They give you something to return to whenever you need a reset. Looking back at my own journey, creativity helped me through a few different stages of life. Um, it gave me comfort during some difficult health periods, and it supported me, excuse me, when I felt tired or overwhelmed. It gave me a confidence I didn't always feel. And it also introduced me, sorry, to a wonderful community of people who shared the same love for learning and creating as I did. Now, I know many of you are just beginning and you may feel unsure or intimidated, and you may doubt yourself before you even start. I want you to know that those feelings are normal, and we all have to begin somewhere. Creativity is not about perfection. It is about self-expression, connection, and well-being. It is about giving yourself a gentle and enjoyable place to land. If you ever reached a point in your life where you felt stuck or restless or unsure what comes next, creativity can help you find direction again. It gives you something to focus on when everything else feels busy or uncertain. And it allows you to notice small joys. It lets you reconnect with that part of yourself that loves to explore and try new things. I'm really excited to bring you some more of these vlogs, and there's so many topics that I want to explore. More on creativity and mental well-being, life as a late starter in art, stories from my own journey, and encouragement for those of you who doubt yourselves. You are not alone in this. We are all learning together, and that makes it even more meaningful. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me. I've loved chatting with you about the benefits that creativity can bring. If you enjoyed this natter, please feel free to give me a like and subscribe so you don't miss next week's video. And if you want more support as you learn, you're always welcome inside the Whiskers to Wildlife Academy, where I help beginners learn how to draw the animals that they love. Just scan that QR code above if you want more info. But until next time, take care of yourself and happy drawing.